like to talk about faith once a week at least because it's what's important to me. It's what is the whole point of life, right? So today's topic is something that came to me about 3 a.m. one morning when I was, in that in-between phase where you're not quite awake, but you're not quite asleep. So it just really made sense, and I wanted to share it with some people. Faith, to me, permeates everything in my life. But what I like to talk about is salvation. How do you become saved, okay? So something came to me the other night from our Father, and it is this phrase, salvation. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I want to start out with a phrase that is usually attributed to business, okay? And it's this phrase that I'm sure you all have heard, probably in lots of different contexts. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So I've heard that all my life, right? And I work in the industry of network marketing. So it's all based on your network. It's who you know, right? So we market through our network and network marketing. So I've heard that phrase for over and over, no matter what business I was in. So I got curious about where does that phrase come from? Where did that start, And the phrase, again, it's not who you know, it's what you know. And as I said, it's usually referred to in business terms. Turns out that they're not sure who was the originator. I wanted to find out who to attribute the quote to, right? So I got on Google, our favorite Google, and got into see what they had to say about who was the originator of this quote. Well, Google doesn't know, which really freaked me out because Google's supposed to know everything, right? If Google or Facebook doesn't know it, it's not knowable, right? Just kidding. Okay. So, they do have a couple of ideas. They've traced it back as far as 1914, where a phrase very similar, it is not your knowledge, it is your network. Okay, that was in an article in a journal called the Electrical Workers Journal in 1914. Then there was the actual exact words that I quoted to you, it's not what you know, it's who you know, was actually printed in the New York Tribune, which I don't think is around anymore, the New York Tribune newspaper in 1918. So this phrase has been around a long time. And as I said, it's usually referred to in business, especially like finding a job. You need to know someone to find a job. And our economy right now has the lowest unemployment in years, so it's not necessarily important right now, but especially in a slower economy, it really is who you know. I've been through this job hunting with 5 children, with myself at various times in my life, with friends and family, and shared their struggles, and it is a lot about networking, who you know. Okay, now where does this networking start? Well, a lot of people, and I learned this with my youngest child, who is the only one of my 5 that went to a big university, Auburn University. And it's been very interesting to me to watch the networking that he is a part of now because of graduating from Auburn University. War Eagle, as they would say. But there's a lot of job hunting that is associated with the people that graduate there. He got interviews, he got job offers, he got a lot of benefits from his network of Auburn University graduates. There's also a lot of people that really get invested in the fraternities and the sororities and all of that kind of thing. And so that helps with jobs, okay? So it's where you go to college, maybe for some of us where you go to high school. It's what fraternity you're in, what sorority you're in, whether you find a job. Another way that people network is the American Legion, the Vietnam veterans groups, all the different groups, every kind of group, veterans groups for military, that's where my context comes from, American Legion posts, your bingo group, your church. A lot of people actually choose where they go to church based on the networking, because that is what's important to them, is to meet the movers and shakers in the community, and that's how they choose their church. Belonging to the Chamber of Commerce, going to that. It's absolutely true. Where you find a job has a lot to do with not what you know, but who you know. It's also, does this networking pay off? I did some research on that too, because I always like to have some facts and figures to throw out there. The estimates for how people find the job they're in right now vary from 70% to 85%. Can you imagine? 85% of the people in their job right now got that job because of who they know. Now, again, the low estimate is 70%, but even at 70%, that's a high percentage of the people that got their job based on that. Not just getting the job, getting ahead in the job, It's not what you know, it's who you know. Okay, so we all know from our experience on different various jobs, there's a lot of, the military calls it brown nosing. Okay, that's kind of a crass way to put it, but there's a lot of networking within the job. Most jobs, even if you don't expect it to be, can very much turn out to be political. My eldest son is a high school football coach, and we have been involved in just listening of his career, where he's gone, where he's been hired, where he's been working. And the first time we moved with them to Alabama, I had no idea that football coaching at a high school level could be that political. It really was surprising to me. But then I thought back to when I worked at a bank and when I worked in different places, and it was political. It was who you got along with at school and at work, and who you did this. So a lot of not just getting the job, keeping the job, okay, getting promoted in the job satisfaction, getting a raise in the job. A lot of those things are related to who you know. Now, all things being equal, you're probably not going to get the promotion above somebody who has a lot more ability in the job than you do, although it could happen. But again, when you're talking job, when you're talking about starting a business, when you're talking about hiring people for your business, when you're talking about getting a loan to start your business, when you're talking about getting partners for your business, it is not necessarily what you know, but who you know. So I got to thinking about all this, and it brought to mind a couple of verses in the Bible. There's one in Acts 2:21 where it talks about those who call on the name of the Lord will be saved. Interesting. Think about that. There's one in Luke where it says at the end of days, when people come to you and say, Lord, I know you, he's going to say, I don't know you. Get away from me. So think about this. It may be your job that you got because you know somebody. It may be the promotion that you got because you know somebody. It might be the raise that you got. It might be the lead on a great network marketing plan. It might be a loan to start your business. It might be all of those things. It's not what you know, it's who you know, but it's also your salvation. We spend a lot of time in churches around that I've been a part of for 50 something years, debating all of the tiny dots and tittles of the law and what's important and what's not important. But when it boils down to it, if you don't know Jesus, you don't have salvation. So think about that. It's not just business. It's your salvation of your soul. It may not be all about what you know. It's just who you know. And I would love your comments. So let me know what you think. Am I completely off base? I can take it. Let's talk. Or if this helped you, please let me know. Have a great Sunday. And it's Monday tomorrow. You are starting the week. Have a fantastic new week. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Anita and Jeremy and Jeremiah, not Jeremy. I'm scrolling through. Ashley, Steve, Elaine, Karen, Anita. Hey, Rachel. Thank you guys all for listening. I really would like to hear your input because this was just dropped in my head and I really believe it came from the Father, and so I wanted to share it. I am in a place where I am very frustrated with people who want to argue about whether they have everything right in their, what would you call it, their belief system, their core, what they believe. And I'm tired of people fighting and arguing over you need to meet on this day of the week, or you need to meet at this time, or you need to have this kind of music, or you can't have that kind of music, or you must do this, or you shouldn't do that. When you get down to it, it's about Jesus. It's about who you know. Do you know him? Does he know you? And if not, maybe you should check him out. Love you guys. And I can't stop talking about him because he's what makes life. Love you. Bye.